right, coming to you live. Yeah. How we doing, everybody? Can you hear me? I have 4 of 4 again. Microphone's lighting up. Usually a good sign. Live stream. Look at Washington, D.C. That doesn't involve the truth that are there. It's the criminal. Hey, White House, where the criminal lives. Amazing. Cynthia may be right about this. Hey guys, welcome back. You're at the Cliff's Edge live stream. I'm Cliff, and I'm live, so both those things make sense. We're coming to you from the Queen City, Radio City, the wonderful Cincinnati. Lots to talk about today. David Schuster will be joining in about 10. We've got Chris Goldsmith will be joining us in about 20. He is a real live Nazi hunter, part of the Find Out podcast, if you're familiar with it. Good stuff you should check out. A lot to talk about today, and Jim's telling me that you can hear me. But I thought I'd go off on a little bit of a rant just to start off. Okay, let's talk about it. Donald Trump's freaking health. You know he's lying. I know he's lying. MAGA knows he's lying. He knows that we know that he's lying. He knows that we know that he knows that we know that he's lying. And I could go on like that forever. It's this one big shell game that everybody plays, and the media especially, because corporate media sucks, which is why you're here, hopefully listening to this, which is why hopefully at blueamp.co you will subscribe to our Substack, which is why at Cliffs_Edge you hopefully subscribe to our YouTube, because they don't cover anything anymore. And I have all the answers for you right here, and I put out something for you, the name of this whole thing about how we have the answers, because we do. And see, the thing is, I didn't have to go and search the ends of the earth for them. I didn't have to become an investigative reporter of the quality of, I don't know. I can't think of one. There aren't any good ones today, but back in the day. Actually, that's not true. There are some good ones out there, but it's a suffering field. I still call Brian Karam a really good one. And he's a good writer. So there we go. I found somebody I'd like to talk about. Jonathan Larson, who we've had on here. Good, too. The problem here is, of course, is that we know that there are serious issues with him, and you really just need to actually know people that are doctors, which I do. Or if you're just not in the mood for that, you can look back to what Sanjay Gupta had to say about him when doctor, is he a doctor anymore? They may have removed that, I think, because he was the pill mill guy. Ronnie Jackson, remember crazy Ronnie Jackson? Taking a fifth of Jack, in between when he was talking, and God knows what else. And he was handed out pills, apparently like candy. That was when it said that Donald Trump was basically going to outlive Methuselah, which means he'd almost reached Chuck Grassley's age. And of course, none of that is true, because Sanjay Gupta took a look at the charts that Dr. Ronnie Jackson, he's probably drunk at the time, put up on the screen, and they showed the beginnings of heart disease. Wow, did I have to do any deep dive for that? No, I just have to repeat what somebody said to CNN like 7 or 8 years ago, which every other media outlet should be doing, because this is what we call context. When somebody disappears for a week, somebody who literally sees cameras and microphones as erotic objects. In fact, you may remember when he pretended to, give one of them, can I say, I don't give a shit. When he pretended to give one of them a blowjob. Sue me, YouTube. I mean, it's because he's so attracted to them. They let him hear his own voice and see his own voluptuous body. That body that has bruises all over it that are, on his hands that are purple. Cankles that are so big they have their own cankles. I think they're developing the ability. They're evolving. They're developing the ability to reason at this point. They're so big. And this is obvious stuff. The man, even yesterday, when they finally could trot him out, when he finally didn't look like he was on death's door and had that ghastly stare in his face that he had the whole week, he avoided them so people would snap pictures and capture him. Yeah, he was more animated. Guess what? He went on late. Anyone want to bet on what they injected him with and how they timed that out? So kick in. It's like, when you get an adrenaline shot in somebody's heart. It was like Pulp Fiction. He probably went, "Blah, blah, blah," and then, afterwards he was gone. I mean, in all seriousness, this isn't conspiracies. He looked like shit for a week. He couldn't engage with the media. That's not on purpose because he cannot avoid the media. He again, it's like a pile of crushed Adderall, Tony Montana style, on a desk somewhere. Boom. Like that's the media to him. So if he's avoiding them for a week, there's a reason. Much else was going on that week, as numerous reporters that are real reporters pointed out. Garrett Graff, who used to be, I think he was the top editor at Politico, but I knew him even before that. I mean, he's legit. And he pointed out some of the questions. There was a day where Trump was not wearing a tie, so nobody else were wearing ties, and Trump was wearing a hat. Trump never does that when he's in the Oval Office. Could he not put on a tie that day? Was he having some specific problems? Did he need to hide the cankles that day? Who knows? Just like the way yesterday he was hiding his hands, he was hiding his feet, all behind a lectern. He was standing very rigidly, could not move around. A media that wanted to look back, let's get back to what Sanjay Gupta said 7, 8 years ago, would bring in context and explain to people, well, Donald Trump is saying there's nothing wrong. His people are saying there's nothing wrong. They've been caught lying 30,000 times. This is what the media should be saying, because this is truth. This isn't like ad hominem. They've been caught lying about virtually everything, certainly about his health numerous times. On the other side of things, we have charts, we have information. So in addition to avoiding the press and all the other fun stuff, and the death stare, I mean, that picture is something to behold. Here, let me just read you 2 excerpts from what Sanjay Gupta said when he read Trump's healthcare report, when Jackson showed the charts of Trump. Like most men of his age, President Donald Trump has a common form of heart disease. Hear that? A common form of heart disease. Relatively easy to address if he increases the dose of his cholesterol lowering medication, which I'm sure maybe he did, and makes necessary lifestyle changes. Does anyone believe a guy who can't walk up 2 steps without getting winded and needs to take a golf cart everywhere on the course, somebody that eats like a 12-year-old, and that's giving him a lot of credit, it's more like an 8-year-old. It's just, 3 scoops of ice cream and hamburgers and whatever the hell other garbage, greasy food he eats whenever he feels like it. He rage tweets all day and night, probably from the Golden Crapper at 2 a.m. Okay, he doesn't sleep. He supposedly gets like 5 hours of sleep a night because he's too angry and too jazzed up on whatever the crap he's putting in his system. Point being, crappy sleep, crappy eating habits, crappy exercise or lack thereof, and rage. These are all considered things that are bad for your heart. I don't know if we knew that. Now, all you have to do is look up WebMD, look up the Mayo Clinic or any of that stuff, and you'll see where it says purple blotches on your body may mean heart disease. Blotches on your hands may mean heart disease. Large swelling, cankles, if you will. And that's where apparently his nickname came from that I put in my, I'll give you this Substack that I wrote yesterday on this whole thing. Apparently staffers are calling him Cankles McTaco Tits, which I'm a big fan of. Because again, he's got these huge cankles. That's also a sign of heart disease. So let's get back to it. Like most men of his age, President Donald Trump has a common form of heart disease, relatively easy to address if he increases the dose of his cholesterol, lowering medication, and makes necessary lifestyle changes. No, he didn't do that. Without those changes, the president has a moderate risk of having a heart attack in the next 3 to 5 years. So it was a moderate risk in the next 3 to 5 years. It's now been 7 to 8 years. I wonder what that risk is. According to the Mayo Clinic, this is, again, Sanjay Gupta quoting. So the Mayo Clinic is giving you this information. Gee, do I trust Ronnie Jackson, who probably found a creative way to snort Jim Beam, or do I trust the Mayo Clinic? His score is 133. This is on the cholesterol deal. Anything over 100 indicates plaque is present and the patient has heart disease. According to Trump's official medical records, in 2009, his coronary calcium score, or I guess it's the coronary calcium score, pardon me, was 34. In 2013, it was 98. And again, by the time this came out in 2017, 2018, it was 133. Well over where you would be if you had heart disease. So let's see. Avoids the media for a week, won't speak into microphones, won't allow pictures to be taken, is completely just disappears to the point where Trump dead is trending on Twitter, among other places. And he looks like death whenever you get a view of him. He's got the blotches, which he's had for a while, the purple spots, the purple blotches, the hand issues. He's got the cankles. And we've got Sanjay Gupta quoting the Mayo Clinic saying that 7 to 8 years ago, he had heart disease already. And now it's been 7 to 8 years more of him eating like shit, not exercising, sleeping like shit, and rage tweeting constantly. Why is this some big mystery? What's going on here? Again, I spoke to a couple of my friends who were doctors who looked at this. And again, one never knows. When I was 29, I had Graves' disease. I went into a doctor, obviously a good doctor. I collapsed at the gym. I had issues. He took one look at me and he's like, "You have Graves' disease." Good doctors can do that. My friends, who were 2 or 3 of them were good doctors, took a look at all this evidence like he has heart disease. And it is probably gone pretty far at this point because again, I don't think anything will ever stop him. So he doesn't listen to advice from people. He just keeps eating and drinking. Well, not drink. I don't think he drinks, but whatever. Eating and Adderalling and all the crap that he does without paying any attention to what they've told him. Why is this so hard? Why? Why can't responsible media folks come out and talk about this? Like, again, some people are, again, I saw Garrett Graff talk about at least a few of these things. I've seen a couple responsible people I consider in the media do it. But remember the coverage? And Graff pointed out, like, who's much kinder in his media criticism than I am, how, the media can decide when a story is a story or when a story is an event. By covering the top half of the New York Times, they made Hillary's emails an event. That stupid fucking story. Meanwhile, David Schuster, who's going to join us in a second, wrote a great piece on Tulsi Gabbard outing a CIA agent. We've got Hegseth, Drunky McDrunk there, busy sending stuff on Signal. Donald Trump himself, who was talking on cell phones to foreign leaders for anybody to listen to. And they gave us this guy. Let's be honest here. They destroyed this country. If we don't come back from this, New York Times, James Comey, there's a few people that get the blame for this. And so in the end, they thought that was across the fold top cover of the newspaper the week before an election. But Graff was saying, he was looking around, he could not find one real story that went into it, like Washington Post or New York Times. They're just ignoring it. And now we all remember what they did with Biden. They made that an event too. Oh my God, Joe Biden's debate performance. Oh my God, he's terrible. Oh my God, he must have all sorts of mental problems. What about this guy? What about like inject bleach asshole? What about the guy staring up at fucking eclipses when he's told not to? What about the guy who thinks Russia's in Alaska? What about the guy who thought Nikki Haley was in charge of security on January 6th at the Capitol? Because apparently Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley are the same person. I mean, we already know like all the things emotionally can't figure out. Dude's proud when he can say man, woman, camera, crypto scam. So come on, do your fucking jobs, all right? Stop making people like me do your job. This isn't hard. The evidence is all right there. Doctors have said it. It's easily understandable. He's the voice of the media. He's him. He's got all of this all over him. The Mayo Clinic. What do you need? Do you need an engraved invitation, motherfuckers? Is that what you need? To do your goddamn jobs? To tell us everybody what is going on with the fascist who wants to send the military into Chicago and is deporting children in the middle of the night? What is it we need? Can you just tell us what we can do for you to do your fucking jobs? Because I'd like to know. I mean, I get it. Jake Tapper might not get to write another book on Joe Biden. If he does, he might not get the access. I don't know. And, Tapper, I'm sure is busy writing another book, little, mainline wimpy boy there, cosplaying as a veteran, because that's what he does. He fetishizes veterans. Gee, wonder if that comes from any lack of self-esteem or knowing what a wuss he is. But I digress. Do your jobs. And with the Trump people, anybody in there who's not part of the cult, I don't know if there's anybody left for that, do your jobs, because the man is sick. And he's very sick, and he's very mentally ill, and that he's got dementia. It's a great combo. Gee, I wonder why the Indian leader, the Chinese leader, the Russian leader, and the Iranian leader were all meeting in China for a nice display of tanks and the rest that Trump wants to do and enjoying their new partnership. I'm sure they don't see any weakness over here. National security implications, too. All right, I'm done for what I have to say today. I'm going to invite David Schuster in a little bit late. Hi, David. How are you?
Hey, Cliff. Good. No, that was a great rant. And I was just sort of thinking as you were talking about it. I just read an article the other day about people who have a narcissistic disorder, which obviously Trump does. And the article pointed out that when people with narcissism disorder are confronted with their own mortality, or say the twilight years of their life, or sort of nearing the end and they're sick, their narcissism gets even worse and more erratic and more unhinged. And so the article was pointing out that Donald Trump is the textbook study of narcissism. And now you can expect his bizarre judgments to be even more bizarre, as
Right.
if they could be. It's crazy.
Well, narcissism, if you understand it in a lot of ways, if you get evolution, feels like it would be an overreaction almost to fear of death, to fear of nothingness, right? You have to be the center of attention at all times. I guess for some, that's the only way Trump knows he's alive is if people are talking about him. I mean, maybe I'm reading too much into that, but that's kind of what it feels like to me. And so, yeah, I would think it would get worse. But whether it's worse or not with him and his narcissism is worse, that still leads all of us to say, corporate media, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
How is it that Hillary's emails and Hunter Biden's penis got more attention than this? I get it. Hunter was well endowed, and Marjorie Taylor Greene found herself strange, kind of attracted, I think. But you know what? In all seriousness, how is it that this guy's already doing crazy things and doing dangerous things that this is not all over above the fold when he's missing for a week and when again I didn't need to do a deep dive. I remembered myself that Sanjay Gupta had said that he had the beginnings of heart disease back then. How much worse is it 7 or 8 years later when he's been eating the way he eats and behaving the way he behaves, and has all the signs, the physical signs.
And all of this, I mean, I think the mainstream media is largely to blame. All of this behavior from Trump, which would have been, months long headline stories in any other administration, it now happens by the day and it's all but normalized. Like the media just sort of treats it as, oh, well, that's just another day in Trump. And so people then become used to this sort
Yep.
of craziness. And then I think there are some people of a certain age who don't remember when a presidency was actually taken seriously or when there was a certain bit of shame in the federal government. I mean, so this is all some younger people know, and that's pretty frightening as well.
Yeah, because this ends up. I mean, again, even if Trump's gone, even we bring democracy in some form back, the president is a national model for people to behave. You see it. I'm sure you've run into people acting in all sorts of ways that you never thought you'd see people behave. I have, and things people have said during one of my younger son's soccer games out loud that they wouldn't have said even a couple of years ago. I'm talking about racist remarks and things like that, where thankfully, the league has, not on my son's team, thankfully, and on the other teams, they've suspended them and done things of that nature. But like, he's also a model for what's considered normal. The 5 billion in crypto scams, just the incredible corruption, the filling all these agencies with people that are completely incompetent and have no ability to do it. The hollowing out. I was reading something on it's not just the CDC, the Department of Education. They fired something like 20 or 25% of the staff. I mean, how we're going to come back to anything close to what we were before is going to be so difficult, and they enable this all the time. I mean, these are all huge stories, and they all are connected to him, his emotional issues, his mental issues, and his physical issues for that matter. Why he does these things, and we've got none of that. But Hunter Biden nonstop and Joe Biden, and I'm sorry, like there's a point where you can't, when people used to say even a few years ago, like, I can't believe the media learned nothing. And I would get so pissed off. I'd be like, and annoyed because I'd just be like, stop with they learned nothing. This isn't about learning something. Like, they're not idiots. Most of them actually are relatively smart people. What they learned is, hey, Jeff Bezos runs the newsroom. I want to move up at the Washington Post. I think I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I saw what happened when David Shipley left, the head of the op-eds, and I had Ann Talnis, the cartoon writer, because they pulled a cartoon, and Jennifer Rubin, who left and started, went to Substack like you and I did, and started the Contrarian. And I mean, they've lost anybody who has any journalistic credentials. All these other people are just are access whores. They just want to get a book deal and move on up, And it's the same thing you see at CNN and the New York Times. And so, I mean.
Oh yeah, I mean the networks have always the network broadcasts channels have always suffered from people who simply want to be on TV. I think it's even worse now. People who are willing to say, okay, I'm going to forget about any sort of basic journalistic principles because I get to be on nightly news or evening news or whatever it is. Like they just want to be on TV. The idea that you actually want to tell the truth and be known for credibility and truth telling, well, that's not a concern. And especially now, it's just sort of like, I don't need to worry about, actually calling out Donald Trump because I'm at a news organization that is afraid of Donald Trump. So we'll just play it safe. We'll just do sort of the both sides. And I get to be on TV. And I don't understand, maybe it's generational. I don't know how people do that, but a lot of them are.
Well, you and I both, and you even more than me, but you and I both spend a pretty decent amount of time on TV. And I have to say, like, it's not that impressive. And I'm just saying, like, what, people, I think we all, when I was a kid, we were like, oh my God, TV, you kind of grew up that way and whatever. And once I was actually going on and having, when I was younger and would do those stupid debates and Fox News would call and be like, hey, we need somebody who will argue this. It didn't matter what was, you know what I mean? And I never changed my position. So if I didn't believe what I believed, if I didn't believe what they wanted me to believe, I'm like, I'm not arguing that. So I guess you'll have, but the fact that they just were looking for, hey, what'll get us what'll get us headlines tonight? What'll get us ratings? What can we get people arguing about? And I mean, it's such a failed model. And when you refuse, like this is there'd been their defense forever. When they're like, we didn't do anything wrong with Hillary, when they all circled the wagons, and we didn't do anything wrong with Biden, and all that kind of stuff they refuse to take responsibility for, yes, you've broken some stories on Trump, but that was more the investigative folks than the political writers. You've done that kind of stuff, but what you don't do is you refuse to understand concepts such as nuance and context, which are two of the most important concepts in news. If Donald Trump is doing 47 crazy things for every one that I do, then you should be covering him 47 times as much that he's crazy.
Right.
If he's doing 47 times as much crazy stuff, but even if you're making it 60% of the crazy coverage is Trump and 40% is me, then you're doing a massive disservice and you're normalizing him and you're making so people, and I've seen this again and again and again, where people just cannot fathom like how bad he is. People I know personally, even ones folks who voted against him because they were like, he seems crazy, but didn't know specific stories about him that should have been everywhere.
And it's stories not just like on big stuff, not matters of big policy and issues of war and peace and the economy. I mean, just yesterday, there was a fascinating moment where Peter Doocy at the White House press briefing asked, or at a Oval Office press conference that Trump had, he asked Donald Trump about this bizarre video from the weekend where it looked like somebody was throwing something out of the third floor window at the White House and the White House residence. And that's sort of where Melania's quarters are. So was Melania throwing something, a bag out? Who knows? It was just sort of an oddball video, but it generated a lot of speculation. The White House over the weekend said, oh, that was a building contractor who was doing that. Okay, I don't know why a contractor would be throwing something out of the window, but whatever. Then Donald Trump is asked about this. He doesn't even know what the White House said. He just lies. He says, well, that's artificial intelligence. No, it's not artificial intelligence. And by the way, your own White House has already acknowledged this is real.
Right.
So, his impulse to lie on anything.
And that's where the context, that's what drives me crazy. See, this is the nuanced area. This is what they refuse to answer, which is all politicians are liars at times. Absolutely. Right. I've worked for some politicians. I respect the hell out of them. They've lied about things. But when it is somebody that is so pathological that they lie like they breathe, that it doesn't even cross their mind to try to find the truth if they don't know it, they'll just say whatever the most convenient thing is at that moment. Most often that's a lie. That's who Donald Trump is. Lies and truth are malleable to him. They make no difference. He doesn't care. He'll say whatever is convenient at the time. If it happens to be the truth, okay. Otherwise, he'll just lie. And like to not put that in context for people that, after his news conference, that he's saying one thing, but a week of him avoiding the media, blotches on his hands and everywhere. The Mayo Clinic, how they describe this stuff among, I'm sure there are numerous, I think I saw the Cleveland Clinic too. There are numerous other places you can look this up and see this. And what people said who saw his charts, you know, and again, I forget if it's 2017 or 2018, like Sanjay Gupta, like it doesn't all of that outweigh what one pathological liar and who surrounded himself by a bunch of sycophantic ass kissers who are all pathological liars say? I mean, you're not doing your job as it was written in the Constitution. You're nothing more than a glorified bread and circuses. Like you're not doing your job.
Yeah, and and this is stuff that I think, look, I think most White House correspondents on the big stuff know these issues. So, like, for example, when Donald Trump claimed yesterday at that same, Oval Office press conference, the tariffs have brought in $17 trillion in investments in the United States. Well, I guarantee that most of the White House correspondents, not the partisans, but the Reuters, the AP, the networks, they know that the entire GDP of the United States is only $29-30 trillion. So Donald Trump is claiming that the tariffs in just a few months have generated half of our entire. I mean, it's
funny because it's so ridiculous,
so stupid. It's so absurd. And why is it that not a single member of the White House press corps said, Mr. President, how can that be? How can that possibly be even close to being true when our GDP? But they're terrified. They're afraid of like cutting them off and saying that's nonsense, because then they get excommunicated and get their press credential thrown away, and their news organization, their bureau chief gets a call saying, "How dare you be rude to the president?" And they're in trouble.
But again, and I guess this is just me, and we've got somebody else here. Chris Goldsmith has just arrived, so we're going to have him in a second. Who's somebody who also, I think, is known as someone who does not just bow down to bullies. And I don't understand. So maybe I just don't understand these people. My instinct, why when I get enraged when I watch those immigration videos where they're grabbing kids or whatever, my instinct when there is a bully out there is to punch them in the fucking face. That is my instinct. That has always been my instinct. And when I see somebody hurting innocent people, I admit it, man. I just want to go kick their ass. Now I try to channel that into nonviolent behavior. And since I've gotten to be of age, been mostly successful. A few soccer fights in high school, but we can skip over that. And why don't I just bring in Chris while we're doing this? And I'll welcome you in 1 second, Chris, because I want to point out that Chris is going to be adding to this too, because we're talking about right now media bullshit. And Chris got caught up in some of this because there is Taylor Lorenz writing this article, doing the right wing's work for them yet again. As I don't know Taylor personally, so I have nothing to say about her personally. I've never met her, never even sent an email to her or back or whatever. No contact. But what I will say is she put together, and now I've talked to a number of people in this group, in the chorus group. What she put together was an utterly bullshit, ridiculous article. We finally have some semblance of what the right has been doing for years, with a hell of a lot more than $8,000 a month for 20 or 50 or however many people. And of course, immediately, what do we have? We have somebody with mainstream media credentials come after it and lie about it. And that is where I invite in my favorite Nazi hunter in the world, outside of Indiana Jones. He's still first. Sorry. Indy's got a special place in my heart. But second is Chris Goldsmith. And if I were a smarter host, I would have written down right in front of me, like the numerous organizations he runs, because he does such great work. But I can tell you that he's going to have his own podcast soon called On Offense, which nothing better describes Chris. He does have right now, he's part of the group that started the Find Out podcast that just kind of went viral and hit it. And he has gotten multi-million-dollar settlements and arrests against not actual Nazis in our country. So with that, welcome back, Chris. How are you?
Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah, I'm doing pretty all right despite the world burning around us. Yeah, so the other organizations, for folks who are curious, that I run are called Task Force Butler Institute and Veterans Fighting Fascism. When I launched an organization called Veterans Fighting Fascism, I didn't imagine the White House ordering American troops onto American streets to intimidate American civilians. But here we are. Crazy new world.
Yeah. Sadly. Yeah, go ahead, David.
I was going to say, Chris, great to see you again. I mean, Cliff mentioned the Taylor Lorenz piece, and I don't want to get too much into the details about that, but the basic thrust is that there are a variety of different, I don't know, independent media folks who had gotten some help, as I understand it, to try to learn the craft of growing a podcast or growing your YouTube channel.
And I think, actually, David, but I think this is where I forgot to say this. We should clearly say, David and I did not receive that. As in, we are not receivers of the chorus money, but if we were, I would not apologize for it. I'd be damn proud of it. So,
yeah, and so this organization, Chorus, was essentially helping to sort of coordinate and to provide some training and a little bit of seed money, I guess, to sort of progressives, to Democrats, to help them grow their business. They weren't telling you what to say, though, were they?
Well, first of all, I am not in Chorus, but because this article came out and it was just generally smearing 90 anonymous progressive influencers, lots of folks have assumed that I am a member of Chorus. I wrote a
I've had a few people ask me too. That's why I remembered to say something there, because I'm like, oh, you're in Chorus, right? I'm like, nope, I guess I'm not that cool.
I've done, I'm a new dad now, so I don't have as much time to produce as much content as I did 3.5 months ago. But I've produced a very lengthy Substack piece where I say several times that I am not in Chorus, but I did a video saying how I am not in Chorus. But since the article came out, there has been a broad interpretation of Taylor Lorenz's Wired piece that that if you're a progressive Democrat, liberal, leftist influencer, you must be taking, quote, dark money. And specifically, Taylor has alleged on her social media profile, it doesn't say this as explicitly in her piece, but she has argued that that money was hush money to stop people from speaking about Gaza, which is a shameful, lazy journalism, because she could have Googled this. My co-host,
and I know one of your Find Out podcast mates, who's a good friend of mine, I think how I originally met you, maybe, Tim Fullerton, who's been on here before. I've heard him say plenty about Gaza, and he's part of the program, and I'm not outing him in any way. He's come out and talked about it, vociferously defending this and whatever. So clearly, if you just looked at what the people they picked have written, you'd know it's a line of bullshit.
Yeah. But herein lies the problem: is we live in the attention economy, in influencer dominated information space. And Taylor Lorenz is literally like the nation's expert on influencers and how they can manipulate public conversations. The way that she framed her article, I cannot say that it was out of the gate deliberately harmful, that it was malicious, but I can say that she does not understand the different structures of nonprofit organizations. She does not understand that the LLC that funds her journalism program has close to no disclosure requirements and is there
dark money,
darker money than 501c4s who do have disclosure requirements. It is frustrating to no end. But while the article itself and Wired may not have been intentionally harmful, what I have seen is Taylor going on right-wing conspiracy theorists podcasts and YouTube, not on YouTube, Rumble shows, which is a right-wing echo chamber created to spread medical disinformation and election lies. That's the only reason Rumble exists. She went on Glenn
Peter
Greenwald
Thiel, by
show.
the way, was a big investor, a big supporter. That's one of his gigs. And the Russians, some Russian oligarchs invested in it too. So people know.
Yeah. So she went on Rumble on Glenn Greenwald's show to promote this. Now, if you simply go into the comments section of that very show where Glenn featured Taylor Lorenz,
which is amazing. I don't mean to keep cutting you off, but it's just amazing to me because Glenn Greenwald made a career of attacking Taylor Lorenz on Twitter a couple of years back when I used to be on there regularly. Like, all he would do is rip her apart, but she's willing to go on that fucking guy's station to promote this crap.
She goes on that knowing that the vitriol, the hate, the abuse, and the threats that she is going to provoke against herself are tremendous going in front of his audience. The only reason, and she's certainly not trying to educate the idiots who watch that show, the people who are on Rumble, who are a lost cause. I know that she knows better than that because I am one of the internet researchers, the people who contracted for one of her former employers. I was the one responsible for keeping her safe after she kicked the hornet's nest all the fucking time when she worked for a major paper. And it is infuriating to no end that she is trying to hold herself up to influencer standards and hold influencers up to journalistic standards when the opposite should be the case. It is caused an immense amount of harm to countless people who have no involvement with Chorus. And I cannot, after seeing her behavior after the Wired article came out, I cannot believe that she has any intent other than to cause harm at this point.
I would agree. And in the spirit of we have to answer charges and stuff like that, Amethyst Pony, which I've been a fan of some of what you said here, whatever. I'm not sure what you're saying here. I mean, Tony and I are not the same person. I want to be very clear. Tony Michaels and I are actually different humans. I consider myself, I mean, Tony has a right to his opinion, whatever. I consider myself a social democrat. Like, I'm not sure what you're talking about attacking social democrats. I'm sitting here, today David did a video and I am all for it. I love this guy, Plattner up in Maine, who I think is probably close to a social democrat. He's an oysterman who's going after, he's going after like the Democratic establishment, the whatever. We had Haley, what was her last name, David? I'm so stupid.
Haley
Schaffner.
Schaffner, yeah.
Sixth-generation farmer from Arkansas taking on Tim Cotton, who's a social democrat and argues in favor. I mean, if anything, I'm not sure who I'm supposedly going after. My piece about Sherrod Brown being like the front, to me, workers first is where Democrats should be. Mm-hmm. The only thing I've ever said is the day after the attack on Israel, when it was live streamed, women being raped, being tortured, and all of that, that Mamdani's reaction was to blame both sides. I've got a real problem with, as somebody who is Jewish and whatever. I haven't even said I wouldn't support Mamdani. I just would like him to address that, because whatever you can, because I don't do both sides with, when I'm saying right now, Bibi Netanyahu is literally attacking and murdering kids and preventing them from getting medical care and whatever. I don't feel a need to both sides that with, but the Palestinians are. I'm just saying he's awful. And the day when Hamas attacked Jews and committed those atrocities, Hamas are fucking terrorists and awful. So again, I'm not sure if that's where you're getting this from, but like I do go after DSA sometimes. DSA called AOC, we're using all these acronyms, called AOC a Zionist shill. AOC. So no, that actual organization, DSA, I think sucks, and I think has a lot of corruption in it. But I don't know the social democrat thing. I am a social democrat. I want AOC's 70% tax cut on above $10 million. I want Elizabeth Warren's, wealth tax and more. I'd go back to Eisenhower days. The right loves the 50s so much. Let's get a 91% top tax rate over. So I don't know. I don't know where you're getting that from, but I really feel the need to address it because Tony has what he says. I have what I say. They're not the same thing. Okay. I'm done.
Regarding what Chris has written about this Taylor Lorenz Wired article, never mind what it says about Taylor Lorenz and what her motivation might have been. Chris, Wired was a pretty well-reputable place, at least the last several years. What is going through
They are doing critical work. They have been doing some of the best, if not the best, reporting on what the damage that the Doggy Boys and Elon Musk have done to the government, to the American government and the American people. Wired is a very important journalistic institution. I do not understand how this article made it through to publication in the form that it went online. I know that there has been a demand letter for a retraction that has been issued to Wired. I don't know how Wired is going to respond to that. I believe
Who
that
sent the letter out of interest?
the lawyer for Elizabeth Booker Holmes. I think Booker Holmes is the last name. Booker Squared is her
Okay.
social media handle.
Because
across.
they've been so good, as you just said, Wired. It's that much more important that they get this right, and and pull this thing, or at least put up some serious notes about and corrections.
Yeah, and Wired is one of the few publications that I've published an op-ed in. Years ago, when I was hunting, Russian troll farms who were targeting American troops and vets, it's one of the few mainstream outlets that I am paying for right now. I believe that Wired is a great and important journalistic institution. It's just this one article that I am disappointed in. But I do think that ultimately they'll do the right thing. I have seen the conduct of Taylor Lorenz before, during, and after publication of this article, and I think that alone shows some malicious intent and that it was not fair reporting.
So you put out a really good video, which well, we should have linked to here, but I don't have the actual video. But you know what I will do? I will share it. Folks, go over to @Cliffs_Edge. After this, I will share the video that on my YouTube wall that Chris put together. And also, if you're on Substack, I'll put it on notes. You follow me on Blue Sky, I'll put it up there. I'm going to put it up in a bunch of places. I feel like I know I already shared it on notes, actually, but I can do it again. I don't know if I shared it outside of the sort of Substack ecosystem, and I will, because I think you give a really good rebuttal and it's not like an overly long video. You just kind of boom, 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 and it's good stuff.
Yeah. What I didn't get to say in the video, and I should have been more. I should have elaborated more on in my written Substack piece is the difference between a C4, a C3, these different types of nonprofits, the reporting requirements around them. What the difference between a funder, meaning someone who pays for something, and a fiscal sponsor. In Taylor Lorenz's piece, he calls the 1630 project, 1630 fund, the funder for this organization. That is factually inaccurate. That they are the fiscal sponsor, which means that money is that they are basically handling the back end legal requirements.
People give them money, and there are some folks who don't want their names on certain issues. They don't, and I understand. And if I were to tell you,
and that's not even so. Taylor Lorenz was so far off on this. They're not even the ones who are the pass through. It's Act Blue. Is who you donate to in order to fund Chorus. And this is not billionaires. This is anybody who wants to donate can donate to Chorus. It's a nonprofit, 501c4, so it's not tax deductible. And the one
so
of
it's somewhat like our Soundcheck fund, which is not tax deductible either, where we've asked people to become paid subscribers at Blue Amp just because this is a bigger fund, but this is why I'm so pro what you're talking about. This is an example to support independent voices so we can keep them out there.
Yeah. And another big allegation that was made that was not clarified in the article, it was right in the headline, was that people were paid to toe the party line. And she called them Democrats. That's the word that she used to describe all of these influencers in the Chorus program. So what the average reader who reads Democrats are getting paid to stay silent and to quote, toe the party line, people think that the DNC is funding this thing. And the allegation was that you cannot endorse anyone without Chorus's permission.
It very much sounded like that, yeah.
Nonprofit law to use nonprofit funds to endorse or campaign for a candidate. The contract that Taylor Lorenz allegedly read, she just misunderstood. She doesn't understand nonprofit funds cannot be used for a campaign. It's
illegal. As somebody who's worked in all of those areas, who's had C4 funds, who's had C3 funds, who's had super PAC funds, And yeah, I've done a couple dark money projects, and I'll say the same thing as what I say about Gavin Newsom gerrymandering in California. Don't fucking apologize one bit. And the other side is doing what they're doing. Those projects that I worked on supported abortion rights. They supported gun safety. You know, they supported an independent effort to unelect, let's say, a rabidly right-wing Republican in a moderate district where this person should not have been representing, and thankfully no longer does. And I don't apologize for that at all. While we have this system, I don't care. I'm not unilaterally disarming.
But the irony, as I see it, is that there are, look, in any sort of business, there are going to be the bad apples. And there are certainly some self-proclaimed journalists on the right and a few self-proclaimed, journalists or whatever you want to call them on the left, who do take money to turn what you could describe as infomercials. And there is a legitimate story to be told about those few people who do this, because it makes the rest of us who are trying to do honest journalism and sort of call balls and strikes as we see it, it hurts all of this. And so, but by having Taylor Lorenz whiff on this story as badly as she has, I almost feel like all of these people, not all these people, but these few people who are out there who are taking money and turning videos and to essentially do infomercials without disclosing that they're being paid for that, they're going to get away with this stuff, and they're going to have even sort of freer reign to do more of it, because everyone's now going to say, let's just not even bother covering dark money now, because look how badly Taylor Lorenz screwed this up.
Right. Oh, we lost you.
I think it's important to know. Sorry, I've been working remote 10 years and I still can't control the mute button.
They're used to me screwing up technology here with my mic all the time. So trust me, you're far better than me.
So one of the things that I think is really important to note is dark money is not always this is not a black and white thing. We live in an environment right now where the executive is weaponizing the government against his enemies. Donald Trump is using the IRS, the FCC, the FEC, every one of the departments and agencies he can to pursue, to prosecute, and harass all of his enemies. So do you, as a listener, if you support abortion rights and you want to support Planned Parenthood, do you want your name to be publicized as a donor to Planned Parenthood? If you're donating to an organization that supports immigrants, you are going to be recognized by the federal government under Trump as a domestic enemy. It is not far-fetched and legally they can't do this, but they can use propaganda to convince people that they can, because that's what Trump does. They could decide that if you support immigrants, you are therefore supporting Tren de Agua or whatever the fuck, and they say, oh, you're supporting terrorists now.
Right.
This is not far-fetched stuff.
We're seeing it.
This is the reality we live in.
We're seeing this stuff right now. And and to be clear also, this existed before Trump. It maybe not on the immigration issue. He's turned that into such a toxic issue where he's gotten his craziest people riled up for his own purposes. But I will say, I haven't done any of those projects, and I'm not saying I wouldn't. And again, I'd let people know I'm doing a project, even if I couldn't disclose where the funding came from. But I haven't done any of them right now. And I think it was 7 years ago was the last one I did. But two of the ones that I did, and two issues I brought up there, gun safety and abortion, long before Trump, those were issues where someone might come to your house because the right had gotten so lied to, so riled up, the stuff about, babies born alive and then killed, and they're all coming to take all your guns, and then they're going to enslave your family and all this stuff. So, and I'm not talking about me. I'm saying, yeah, there were some funders who are not from like New York City and LA, but other parts of the country that are much more red, that didn't want people showing up at their homes, and coming after their families. And I'm sorry, but like, if that is our law right now and they can do that, I don't blame them for doing that. And it supported good projects that I was lucky enough to work on, which were successful, at that time in preventing some really bad things. So, no, I'm not apologizing. I mean, I don't think anybody should apologize for that at all.
Yeah. And this is something that I have recently evolved on. I used to be, when I worked for a major veteran service organization, Vietnam Veterans America, congressionally chartered, it's a 501c19. I used to be 100% against dark money. But we live in a different world than 10 years ago. Now I understand that people who donate to anti-ICE causes, if that's a 501c4 is their vehicle and they don't have to disclose their donors, that helps Americans stay safe.
Yeah.
I used to look at this issue as black and white, as Taylor Lorenz kind of does, but she doesn't understand how the law works, so she confuses things. I'm no longer black and white. I understand that people need to not be 100% transparent about the causes they're supporting, because they will get targeted by the IRS or the FBI or any other of the alphabet agents.
Well, let's say you refuse that money because you're like, it's dark money, I can't do this, and a couple of kids get ripped away from their parents and end up in El Salvador because of it. Is that worth it to people? I mean, is that what we want? Because again, the intent matters here, and when we use anything from dark money to super PACs to other things, all of which I think should be gone. I would pass a vast campaign finance bill that would move way in the direction of where some other Western European countries are. But that's not the reality we're living in right now. And so the reality is there are children who will die. I mean, there are people who will die. And I'm sorry, if somebody comes to me with dark money and that's the way to save people, I'm saving people. That's a pretty easy calculation for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have been working on campaigning for issues my entire adult life. When I came home from Iraq, I was pissed off because we had been lied into an absolutely devastating war. It killed over 1 million Iraqis. People don't talk about that anymore.
Nope.
We've had over 2 million Americans deploy to Iraq and Afghanistan over the last 2 decades. And I came home in 2007 to a VA that was not prepared for the surge in veterans. And through advocacy, 501c3 4s, C3s, C19s, we have improved the VA drastically. All the while, the Koch brothers funded the Concerned Veterans for America group, a dark money group, with limitless funds, paying Pete Hegseth to be their CEO, to go out partying all the time, to
get drunk and like
Republicans.
financial impropriety and sexually harass the women there and all the other great stuff he did.
And he ran that organization to the ground, if not twice, at least once. I mean, he almost bankrupted and destroyed the organization. And 20 years later, the anti-war vet is still working with, I run 2 C3s virtually by myself.
No, I know.
This commitment to total fucking transparency has not been good for me. The other guy, who used to be my contemporary, is the Secretary of Defense, now deploying fucking troops against American citizens on American
sending out
streets.
secret plans via Signal, which is really helpful too.
Chris, I want to ask you something a little sort of more personal, but also tied to some of what we're talking about. You mentioned that you are a new dad.
Yes.
And first of all, congratulations on that. Boy or girl?
Yeah, that's awesome, by the way.
Girl, Sylvie
Girl.
Faye.
Okay.
She's a happy, healthy little baby. We're very
Awesome.
lucky.
So I've got a 12-year-old and an 8-year-old. Cliff has a kid in college, another one who's going to be there soon. When I think about sort of as a parent and then sort of tied into these sort of issues about how I view our society and our country, I often sort of worry about the world that is being created or is being left for our kids. You are on the front lines of trying to sort of repair this world and solve some things. How has that changed either your views as a parent or your fears as a parent? How has it informed? What's the sort of, I imagine there's got to be a certain level of optimism that you have to bring kids into this world and hope that the future will be better than what we have right now.
If you call me an optimist, sir, you just don't know me. Look, I'm a fighter. I don't care if I'm going to lose. I'm going to keep fighting. I think we're fucked, but I think that it's always worth fighting. That's why my Substack and soon to be podcast are called On Offense. We can't simply just defend the things we love. We have to impose costs on those who are trying to destroy the things we love. One of the things that I have done with one of my nonprofits, Veterans Fighting Fascism, is I created an instruction manual. Anybody can find it. Anybody can use it. It's free. veteransfightingfascism.org, to create anti-fascist book clubs. And I always talk about the importance of defending your local libraries and going to your local school board meetings. This has always been an issue for me that I understood because of the books behind me. Now I'm living and realizing that the local school board here has people, organizations, dark money groups like Moms for Liberty trying to get anything that's about science or diversity pulled off of the shelves to deny my daughter an education, to deny my daughter the health and well-being that comes with being an informed American citizen.
And the kind of stories that need to be told for her to remain in any way equal to us, because they remove all those stories from the library. Guess what? We head backwards to where it's just white dudes.
Yeah. I mean, libraries build empathy, right? That is what the greatest experience that I think that I have had is the opportunity to travel outside of the country.
Absolutely.
The trip to Iraq wasn't great, but other trips following that made me a better person, because I started to have a kinship with people who were nothing like me, who had no similar experiences to me. And I started to understand the world in a better, greater way. It made me a better person. A lot of people get that same thing from their library, from their schooling.
But it also sounds like being a parent has added to sort of your urgency of this fight, and perhaps also localize it to a certain extent, because now you're looking at your community, your school district where your daughter's going to grow up.
Well, that's an education too, right? I mean, go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. So, the goal of the Anti-Fascist Book Club, the reason that I created an instruction manual, was not just simply so that people could learn about fascism and how to fight it. It is also so that people have an excuse to find a third place, and a place to be physically present with people who are like-minded, who want to fight for democracy in their own backyards. What I always tell people is you can't pay attention to fascism as if it's something that's just coming from Washington, D.C. Fascism grows in your backyard, and that is where you, if you're watching this, you can have the greatest impact. You and I, we're public figures, right? So we talk about Trump, we talk about Congress. I'm a former lobbyist. I have moved mountains to move billions of dollars, right? That is my skill set. But the vast majority of Americans don't have that experience. Therefore, they should just simply go to the library to make sure that it's funded, to make sure that it's protected from Moms for Liberty. They should go to their school board meeting to make sure that the children in their neighborhood are not denied a premium education, an opportunity to become a more whole person.
I would say that
we're gonna keep going, and I gotta drive here, but I just want to say before I go, Chris, your daughter is lucky to have you as her dad, and so enjoy every moment of that.
Let me echo that. They go too quickly, and suddenly they're gone in college. So it happens overnight.
And when people like you, Chris, sort of join this remarkable institution of parenthood, it gives me sort of more open confidence for my own kids. So anyway, good to be on with you, Chris and Cliff. Thank you. Appreciate it.
David, thanks as always.
All right, we'll talk soon.
And I've got a hard stop at the top of the hour, so I'm going to have to drop some.
Yeah, we're not going to stay that much longer. I'll let you out, David, and we'll just sort of finish up here. I mean, I'll talk to my audience for a bit longer, but I just finish up with you and just say I'm really glad that you did what you did, that you came out and fought right back. You helped educate me. Because when I saw the Taylor Lorenz thing at first, I thought, did these people really do that? Is the DNC really paying them off? Are they really now not saying anything negative about, Democratic leadership, which I've gone after a number of times and said, we've got this bubbling up of all these brilliant candidates and governors and folks in Congress. And the only thing in the way right now is Democratic leadership. If they would get the fuck out of the way, we could be we're already being somewhat effective. We could be that much more. So knowing that wasn't the case makes me happy. And you educated me on that, and I appreciate that. And that's why you knew the inside deal on this one. There may be something else coming out there. There've been a few times where people have been saying something that was wrong, and I knew the inside deal, and I was able to tell folks what was going on. This is important stuff. This is why we are independent media, because we are just, in the end, the truth is really what our product is. There's no other reason to do this. You don't go into this to be like, I'm going to get rich. You go into this because you care and you want to make a difference. And really, a lot of us were at more mainstream organizations, which I was. I used to go on MSNBC a lot. I wasn't employed there or anything, but I did that, and I wrote for the Daily Beast, where I did get paid and other stuff. And I'm just so much happier to be in this position where I can tell the truth. There's nothing to stop me. I mean, I guess Trump could send in some troops or something, but there's nothing literally at this particular moment to stop me from just saying what I think. So I'm just, I always having a guy like you quite literally in the foxhole with us. I mean, you project, you may not say you may say you're not an optimist, and maybe you're not, but you project confidence, you project fight, and that's all I ever try to do too. I'm not fully an optimist. I would say I'm cautiously optimistic. I definitely think getting back a pre-Trump culture is going to be a lifetime effort if it happens at all. I do think we can reverse some of the worst aspects of his, but I do think a lot of permanent damage has been done, if I'm being honest. So I'm just going to do what the hell I can to fight these fuckers because, A, my kids and what we talked about, I want to do the most good possible, and B, because fuck them. How about that?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, man. And for folks who haven't been following Cliff on Substack, he wrote a piece a few weeks ago about his trip to Italy and just the perspective that he got to see to be pulled out of this constant stress of living in the United States and realize that we as human beings are capable of being better. So make sure that you're subscribed to Cliff on Substack.
And we were thank you so much. That's blueamp.co. What is the exact URL to yours so we can get people there?
So we are onoffense.substack.com for my personal Substack and soon to be podcast, and findoutpodcast.substack.com is me and my co-hosts who do a podcast twice weekly.
And I'm going to let you go. I was just say, you've seen Chris, you've seen his perspective, what he said about traveling abroad. Thank you about that. That piece was one of the most important I've written on Italy, because I lived abroad in the past and traveled again, but it hits you even more now if you have the experience to just see, hey, it's not only different, it's not only less anxious and people enjoy their free time, whatever. We were like that between the 30s and the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had racial discrimination. I'm not claiming we were perfect, but economically we were in the right place. And then we took this right turn. We got to get back to some semblance of that. We got to. Well, you keep fighting, dude. Everybody check out the Find Out podcast. Get on offense, and find this man in all the places that glorious beard of his resides, because he's one of the best on our side. And I say that with zero hesitancy. I'm not speaking English anymore. But having gotten to know you, I'm proud to fight with you, brother. So thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, and I'll catch you later.
Yep. Take care.
Bye.
All right. 304. What else we have left? I saw some folks in the chat here talking about Venezuela. Yeah, I think that was about getting some attention. Again, it was the usual Trump people's game about trying to turn our attention away from folks coming out who were victims in the Epstein case. The attempt at the discharge petition, I think I saw Cynthia say something about that was going to be a really hard lift. You look at the exact numbers in Congress, and they're not promising, as Thomas Massie, I think, is the only Republican I'm aware of who said that he would vote for it. So that's going to be really difficult. But there are other ways to get it out there. Gee, guys, maybe we could be like Republicans during the Ken Starr proceedings. I know some of you are too young for that, and just do what Brett Kavanaugh did. Yes, it was him and leak stuff. Just a thought. I would never say to do that because I think it's illegal, and of course we would never do that. Wink or something. But the Venezuela thing, I mean, yeah, could it lead to some sort of a war? Sure. I don't think Venezuela wants that. I think it's us being, again, bullies and assholes and doing the stuff that we do. And it's Trump being a bully and an asshole, and Pete Hegseth being a bully and an asshole just because they can. And they knew that media, if they fed that story to the media, we've had plenty of drug interdictions that none of us ever hear about. But, hey, for all of you folks, especially considering where it was near, any of you folks who know history, remember the Maine. Everything's misdirection with them. Now Trump has two things. I joked in the piece I wrote, which I'll actually share right here, and I'll ask you all please to save it or open it, have it open, read it after we're done here. about Trump's press conference, how it really answered no questions about his health, because I laid that all out at the beginning. But what they did with Venezuela, again, it's like now he's got to change the subject. I made the joke that maybe he'll release the Epstein files to change the subject from his health. And they got two things they're desperately trying to hide. So you can expect a lot of this kind of shit. A lot of announcements about moving Space Force to Huntsville, Alabama, as if Space Force is a real thing and not just like a comic book, a bad one that Trump made up. And, about, we bombed a Venezuelan ship because they were trying to bring drugs into this pure and perfect country of ours. Just keep all that in mind. It doesn't mean that these aren't policies that don't hurt people and we shouldn't respond to them. But you can respond to something and be like, depending on the circumstances, and be like, you're an idiot. That's awful. You guys are fucking criminals. Oh, and by the way, where are the Epstein files? See, it's that easy. I think that is most of what I wanted to get across to you fine folks. Look at Jim Williams, also letting you know where to find us on the Substack machine tomorrow. Really interesting interview that David and I are going to be doing at Substack at 2 p.m. We are going to have on Angus King III. And if that name sounds familiar to you, well, Angus King II is the current U.S. Senator, former governor of Maine, was once a Democrat and became an independent. The one that's not Susan Collins, that actually often votes for good things. I don't agree with him on everything, but he's been generally quite good. And his son is running for governor. And we decided, they reached out to us. We decided it'd be very interesting to have him on, hear his perspectives, because he is running as a Democrat. He has decided to not run as an independent like his dad. So maybe, we'll get some interesting stuff out of him, and maybe more of a perspective on Maine, which is pretty important, because even if he's running for governor, that Susan Collins race, we'll see if he won't answer us about it, because I know there's a primary there. But as I said earlier on the Social Democrat talk, man, this Graham Plattner dude, he's got fire. He's calling out oligarchy. He's calling out Democratic leadership and establishment. Reminds me of Hallie Schaffner, and Haley Schaffner, when we had her on from Arkansas, reminds me of Sherrod Brown, who, yes, the leadership likes just because he can win the seat. Otherwise, they wouldn't like him. Trust me. If they had a corporate option here, they would take it. It's that they have no other option. So they have supported Jared. But they're trying to do it in Michigan. We've got Mallory McMorrow running, who's terrific. And they've gotten behind Haley Stevens, who's much more of the donor class. They're doing whatever they can, as usual, to fuck things up. So we're going to make sure that we highlight folks that you should be supporting. As Mr. Android said, love lifts us up where we belong. And Amethyst's Pony, I am Gen X. Hey, I'm Gen X too. So I really can only text folks a couple of, when I'm texting, I can only text you stuff like, hey, let's meet there at 9 p.m. Or, hey, let's do this or that, or a couple texts back and forth. I don't get you kids who sit there literally texting for hours. I don't know. I got to pick up a phone. Come on. Or a video or something. Let me call out the folks that have given us the super chats and the rest. I will again remind you folks, we are independent. We are you supported. And anyone, there is no amount too small. 99-cent super chat or super sticker, $1.99, whatever you feel like. Every single thing helps us so that we can do. We got Veronica in here. Guys, Veronica helps me so that we can do the multiple things that we do, because she's brilliant and awesome. And I could not pay her if it weren't for folks like you. So there's a great example of what we do in the Sound Check Fund, where we've already given out 5 different grants. We keep thinking we're going to send it out. Hopefully, maybe the newsletter today. We had to get the okays from people. We had to get images from them. They were comfortable with headshots, but 5 different folks have gotten checks from us who are independent creators, because we want to be part of the solution. We're doing what we can. So there you go. Mr. Android is right. Thank you, Veronica. Veronica's awesome. And has made this operation a lot better. Grace E. Hi, Cliff. Bonjour. Et bonjour to you too. Ça va? Qu'est-ce que tu fais? Jim is sharing the places. Patreon, if you just want to go and support me, that is outstanding. Substack, if you become a blueamp.co, a paid subscriber, the benefits are being, David and I want to do Q&As where we will let you guys ask us anything. That's in addition to the paid subscriber money going to a sound check fund so that we can support creators. So you're accomplishing helping support creators. You can comment on posts. You'll be able to ask me and David questions and watch it as we do at the end of the week when we answer them for you. Lots of stuff going on. There's just so many things going on and so many moving pieces. And we're hoping if we bring in enough, we can hire someone to run operations so that that can become smoother and we can actually get more done. So who's coming with me? You guys are all familiar with that from the past. I want to do my Jerry Maguire. We have 3 things here. I'm going to read them. If 2 more people can support us, that would be fantastic. I don't even go for 10 anymore. 5. So I got, Cynthia Rice with a let's go Cliff. Oh, I made a mistake. So she gave me a let's go. I'm going to take that. Cynthia moderates and does a great job, and that's important. So there's only 2 that we have here. We've got Mr. Android, who's been a member for 11 months. That supports us. Thank you so much. Talking about Trump, he's old with bad veins, can't get a bypass. Wouldn't be surprised. I mean, maybe, you know, they will do anything for him they could. We all know that he got all those experimental treatments, and quite honestly, with the shape he was in and the age he was, he would have died of COVID. You saw how he was breathing and everything, except for he got all the stuff that the rest of us would never get. Sheldon Hughes, always coming through, gifted 1 Cliff's Edge membership to YouTube here. Also, I should show these. So there's Mr. Android. Thank you, my friend. Sheldon, getting that membership going. You know, good for new folks, a new folk, if you will. $2 a super chat. Again, I told you folks, like, the amount doesn't matter. The support matters because it all adds up. Sheldon has always been a huge supporter here. And Mr. Android again. So we got 2 Mr. Androids and 2 Sheldons, a $2.22. Hey, you go, a tip. That's awesome. So come on, folks. That's 2 folks who have stepped up and each have given 2. Can we get like 1 or 2 new folks? Again, 99 cents, $1.99, something. Susie Jones with a $1.49 super sticker. Look at that. I apologize, Susie, if you've given before. I don't remember if you have, but I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. That is outstanding. Do we have anybody else? I know I said 5, but I didn't know that we had 2 people that each had given 2. So why don't we go for 6? $1.49, 99 cents, anything. All this goes into helping me pay Veronica. All this goes into helping me pay our editor, Nicholas. All this goes into helping us keep the Substack going, me and, you know, and so that we can help creators and do our own version or smaller version of Chorus, which is helping independent creators. And we do the same thing. We don't tell anybody what to say. No requirement, except for the fact that they have to be willing to produce stuff regularly because we don't want to give it to people and then have them do nothing. You know, and basically, well, I don't know, have an answer to fascism. Do what we can do. Somebody call me greedy. Susie Jones, I can't afford a membership, but I wanted to chip in. Well, I'm going to do this again. Not many of you have taken me up on this, but especially if you are folks that, you know, show up here and give your time. So it's cs@blueampaction.com is an email you can have of mine. If you show up here and take the time to be a part of this, if you are a YouTube member, Cliffs_Edge, a Blue Amp Substack subscriber, or subscribers to either of those, again, they both they both are free, and then you can decide if you want to pay for more, you know, and to support the Soundcheck Fund at you know, at Substack, and just want to support me by becoming a YouTube member. So you don't have to pay. There we go, Rachel P. Rachel, thank you, and you did exactly what I asked, right? You didn't have to give, you know, $25 or whatever. Not that I would complain if anybody did that, but $1. $1 is $1 that helps us pay for stuff. These lights, this microphone that I usually screw up. You know, people need to pay bills and feed themselves. Well, Dawn, I always say that. And again, if I haven't said that yet, so I'll say it again. I will never, ever ask anyone. In fact, I will tell you to never give me any money that you need to pay bills. If you need to pay rent, if you need to pay a mortgage, if you need to pay for food, if you need to pay for your kids to go to school, and that is you only have the money for that, do not give me anything. I'm talking to other folks out there who are doing well enough that they can and care deeply enough about democracy and about liberalism, leftism, whatever it is, whichever ism that's, not the bad isms that you prefer, and, help support what I do. So the more I get, the more I can support other folks, and the more we can do this stuff and do more shows and everything else. Because that's what the goal is to add on to all of this. It's just it takes us a bit to build up to it. I think we got 7 different folks supporting us. Oh, well, actually not 7 different, but 7 different ones. And then 3 more came through after the original 4. And that, folks, makes me very happy. I'm very appreciative. It shows that people are invested in this. People can't pay with the stupid tariffs. I know, Spencer, I got you there, man. Unbelievable. You all are fantastic. You're a bright light in what is a semi-dark cloud of a country right now. You're the sun shining through. Keep doing it. Keep showing up here. Keep showing up other places. Keep supporting the good people and being out there to fight the bad people. I hope to see you tomorrow again. They will be only on Substack. We'll talk to Angus King III. And I think that's all I've got for you. So, my friends, what do we do? What do we always do here? We end by saying, as the sun sets slowly in the west, I bid you a fond farewell.